Welcome to The Real Simon Says. My name is Simon. On today's video, we will be talking about Anthony Mackie, AKA Captain America. Recently, he went on a podcast called A Pivot, where he talks about raising his sons. And he dug deeper on the death of masculinity in America. Let's talk about it. Before we get to the video, please make sure you subscribe, you like, and you share this video. Now let's get to it.
I've been in the business 24 years, right? And I've seen people go from nothing to the biggest stars in the world. I've seen people go from one role to winning Academy Awards and doing all this shit. And what I realized yesterday thinking about it, we're lying to our kids, dog. And I think that's a big problem in our community. We tell our kids that and this is fresh on my heart, like I literally just came to this conclusion last night. We tell our kids if they do right and they make the good grades and they go to the programs and they will become successful. If you work hard enough, your work will be paid off. And that's not true. Success is given. It's not earned. Because you can be the most brilliant. If one person don't tap you, each one of y'all. There were people who could hit harder, who could catch better, who could run faster, but somebody said, you're the one. And the other 50 behind you fell off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And because of that, I don't know what that emotion or that feeling is the scary thing. Because I went to all the programs. I've done Broadway, I've done off-Broadway. I've been in the business 24 years. I've been in 2 Academy Award films. I've done independent films. I've done major motion pictures. Now I'm Captain America. So now what?
Regarding this statement, I think he's partially correct, in my opinion, because opportunity is earned and also opportunity is given. You know, also lucks play a huge part of all those things too. And also it depends on how well connected you are, because it's also about who you know, what you know, and what kind of value you can also give to somebody who's also providing you that opportunity. You know, there's a quote that I read. It says, it's better being prepared and not get the opportunity, and get the opportunity and not be prepared. So it's really good to also know that it can go both ways. I understand where he's coming from, where opportunity is given, because we see a lot of rich family who gives their children opportunity. And you see a lot of people who miss opportunity because they don't have connection. They don't have the network. They don't have the people around them to be able to help them navigate or help them to be able to reach a certain level because due to connection. But I understand where he's going with this. Now let's take a look at another clip of what really set social media in an uproar because of the statement that he said about raising his children to be masculine men.
I keep my boys humble. Like my boys have never had a pair of Jordans. You know, my boys don't do all that internet fly shit. I'm like your kids. And no, I could be the biggest star in the world. Do not let me catch you being stupid. Mm-hmm. Do not. And my oldest gets it. My 15-year-old, he tells the other ones, he's like, yo, don't make dad mad. Because once you get one that's right, he gonna straighten the other ones out. Mm-hmm. So it's just that thing of, in the past 20 years, we've been living through the death of the American male. They have literally killed masculinity in our homes and our communities for one reason or another. But I raised my boys to be young men. And however you feel about that, you feel about that. Right. But my boys will always be respectful. They will always say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. No, sir, no, ma'am. They will always say thank you. They will always open the door for a lady. They will always make sure that their mother is taken care and provided for. They will always be men. And that's always since they were 2 years old. Every time I left for a job, I tell my 15-year-old, you're the man of the house. You make sure these doors are locked every night, this alarm is on, you text me or you call me every night before you go to bed and you wake up.
I love that.
Because we're men. If I'm not there to protect, he got to be there to protect. Because you can have all the money in the world, climb through the window, that money means nothing. Right. You can have all the celebrity in the world. jump through the door, that celebrity means nothing. Yeah. So you got to have a little guard in there, you know? And so for me, it's always that idea of American masculinity is very different.
The first thing that I'm going to say is you have the right to raise your child, even your son and your daughter, however you want to raise them. It's up to you to install any type of value into them. You know, if you want your child to become functioning adults in the society, it's up to you as a father, it's up to you as a mother to be able to install those value into them. If you want your child to become, some people want their child to become criminal. Some people want their child to become thugs. Some people want their child to take a certain path that society does not align with. And that's also up to you as a father, as a mother, as a parent to do that. So for Anthony Mackie, I don't see nothing wrong with what he just said. You know, a lot of people are basically questioning his parenting because they feel the way he's trying to raise his son does not align with maybe their point of view. It maybe does not align with society and how society basically is viewing raising children. When I take a look at this video, the first thing that I would say stood out to me, him saying that he does not let his children have Jordans. Obviously, he wants to be able to make his children be humble. He obviously has money. He's an A-list superstar. He's an A-list celebrity. And he doesn't want his children to become spoiled brats. And I understand it, and I get it. A lot of people probably are saying, no, you should probably let your child have the luxury of having so many luxury things and buying them all these expensive things. Well, some people grew up in a humble beginning. And I think he probably grew up in a humble beginning, and he wanted to teach his kids there's more to life than just having luxury things. And I applaud that. But a lot of people probably won't be able to see that. You know, he grew up probably in a different generation. And he also probably grew up in a different household than so many people. If I'm not mistaken, he grew up in New Orleans, in the South, where people are much more, I would say, conservative, where people are much more family oriented, and where people are not as liberal as certain people in certain region of the country. So we have to look at this in a broader sense, because he's trying to install value that he probably saw his parents did. He probably saw his surrounding. He's trying to install value that he feels where his children will be able to become even men, will become men in a society, men in the world, men in America, to be able to function in a family, to be able to raise a family. A second statement that probably took the internet by surprise, or where the people in the internet were in an uproar, was him mentioning that he's raising his boys to become men. I didn't know raising your boys to become men can trigger so many people. There's nothing wrong with him trying to raise his son to become men. There's nothing wrong with him trying to raise his children to be respectful in society. So many people are triggered by that. And this tells you just how our society basically have declined. Because it takes a man to raise a child to become a man. Because only a man can raise a child. Only a man can raise a boy to become a man, not a woman. And nowadays we see society is trying to take that responsibility away from the parents, away from the father, because we see with the agenda that is being pushed by so many organizations. And I believe his statement was in an uproar because he's part of Hollywood. And when you take a look at Hollywood mostly lean in the left. And there are certain people who think a certain way. They see family in a different perspective than so many people. I won't say they're anti-family, but they are anti-traditional family value in so many ways, in so many aspects in Hollywood. And for an A-list celebrity like Anthony Mackie to go in a public platform like The Pivot to talk about the death of masculinity and how he's raising his children, it probably does not align with so many people in Hollywood who has, I would say, a sinister agenda when it comes to family. Because for some people, they want to destroy the fabric of family in the United States. And for some, they want to alter it to their perspective, to their own agenda. And for a guy like Anthony Mackie to say something like this, I agree with him. You know, you got to raise your sons to be men. You got to raise your sons to be men because masculinity is important in men. Masculinity is necessary in society. Without masculinity, this society will not be able to function. And I believe femininity is also important in women. Without femininity, our society will not be able to function as well. So we need each other. The men need masculine energy, and women need feminine energy in both ways. But like I said, we're living in a time where they're asking men to suppress their masculine nature. And then they're coming up with terms like toxic masculinity. I don't even know what that really is. Because if there's a toxic masculinity, then there should also be a toxic femininity. But for me, I agree with him. He's raising his sons to be men. Another thing that stood out for me when I was reading the comment, people were saying, why would you let your 15-year-old take the responsibility of securing the house? I think people misinterpreted that. Because I think as a father, he's teaching his son, his 15-year-old son, how to protect his household. You know, because growing up, I remember my father would always tell me, make sure you take the garbage out. Make sure you take the garbage out before the garbage truck comes, and do not let it pass you by. So it was like my responsibility as a young man, where my father basically put that upon me to be responsible of the garbage in the house. So every morning I was waking up, not every morning, but the days of the trash, which I think it was on a Thursday, I will wake up in the morning to go make sure I leave the garbage out in the street so the garbage truck can come and take it. So it was a form of responsibility that my father was installing into. And I think that's what he's doing with his 15-year-old son. The point is this: regardless of what you think of masculinity, I think masculinity is important in society. And same thing can be said about femininity. What Anthony Mackie said, I see nothing wrong with that. Because he's trying to raise his son to be men. Because that's how he grew up. And for people to basically try to cancel him, I think that's wrong.